Viewers are advised to speak with their own healthcare providers before making changes in diet and exercise regimens.
It's time for women to stop what they're doing for a moment, take a pause in their life, take a deep breath and say, from this moment forward in this new millennium, I'm going to honor me. From a woman's perspective, a woman is now aware that she is a dynamic, wonderful, integrated being, and everything is in balance. Being truly whole means being in balance in your life, having the best relationship possible, and developing strong self-esteem by discovering your sacred self. Prevention is the key. Prevent it, you will not look like your mother did or feel like your grandmother did when you're at the same age. No more thinking that your answer to your inner beauty comes from outside. We're going to dispel these myths.
Gary Null is one of America's leading health and fitness writers and alternative health advocates. This three-part program will dispel a lot of myths about being a woman, addressing health conditions specific to women, how to embrace your power and beauty, and create the most balanced life possible. Now here's Gary Null.
Hi, I'm Gary Null. What I'd like to do is have all the men right now, please leave the room. This program is for women only. Most women I have met in my life are like wonderful, wonderful oasis of beauty and passion and enormous amount of feeling. And yet, because of their conditioning, they're not in the oasis. This program is going to give you the tools you need to make new and powerful choices. If you're a woman and you're facing going in from, let's say, the age of 40 to 60, where you're going to be facing menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, you're going to learn how you can change everything about menopause. PMS, we're going to dispel many of the concepts of PMS. There's no reason you should suffer from cramps or fatigue or mood swings. There's natural treatments for all this. For all you women who have struggled so hard to try to control your weight, and you haven't cheated, and you haven't overindulged, and you've been blamed that somehow you're lazy or irresponsible or emotionally incapable of maintaining your physical well-being, well, I'm going to show you that it's not your fault that you're fat. We're going to show you that you have tried hard, but no one explained to you something about your biochemistry. You'll understand that during this program. No more fatigue. No more lack of libido. No more thinking that your answer to your inner beauty comes from outside. We're going to dispel these myths and set the record straight. It's about time. Why me? Why a man discussing an issue on health? Well, for one reason, for the past 40 years of my life, I've watched how women have been treated by the mass media, by the medical community. Having a radio program, I have done more programs on women's health than any other radio program or television program in the United States' history. I've done over 2,000 programs on women's health, and I've always offered a forum for the leading advocates of what women can do to take back the power to make important choices in their life. And I believe that by educating women and men, as I have done in these forums, in books and articles, documentaries and radio broadcasts, lectures, counseling, all the thousands of women I've counseled, the health support group for women that I've had, and I've had over 40 health support groups for women, that at least allows me to appreciate what women can do when they're given the positive options. So that's what this program's about, and that's why I'm helping to share these insights. Everything evolves from something in the past that we almost never understand. If you went back into the Middle Ages, you'd find that women were really not allowed to go to school. They couldn't have higher educations in most areas of the world. They were prevented from being in guilds and crafts and learning things. As a result, what was considered sacred, which was knowledge, was given to men only. So women did what they could. They raised their families, and some women learned about midwifery. They learned about herbs. In fact, almost every village, the person that did much of the healing locally was the local herb woman. And they mastered this craft, and they helped a lot of people. So it's not difficult then to understand over the centuries how those few women who tried to lead and educate were always persecuted. They were always martyred. And it's not even until the late 1800s that we started to see any school allow women even in for any position. And it was not until the beginning of the century that women actually became physicians. And then it was rough for them. They said, hey, if I'm a woman and I'm a physician, I'm going to honor healing. And healing has to be whole body, mind, spirit, environment, emotions. One of the things that I suggest that you pay attention to is the relationship that you create with your attending physician. And why not look at to see if you can participate in your own healing process, where you're not just going in like, heal me, I'm a broken part, you know, my brain's not working, something in my arthritis, I've got an ovarian cyst, I've got amenorrhea, dysmenorrhea, I've got depression, what am I going to do? From a woman's perspective, a woman is now aware that she is a dynamic, wonderful, integrated being, and everything is in balance. Disease only exists where there is a lack of balance. When you have a lack of balance, you have conflict. Conflict then manifests as symptoms. By the time you see the first symptom, it might be 20 years of conflict. When the doctor says, hey, you're lucky, we caught the breast cancer early. You say from the woman's perspective, no, doctor, you caught it late. In some areas, doctors are superior than other forms of healing. I'm not bashing medicine. I'm not attacking doctors. I support good medicine and good doctors. I've had 15,000 physicians on my radio show. What I don't like is medicine that doesn't honor the need to change when it's shown that it should. And doctors who are leading with their ego, where they're not willing to listen to you because you don't have their education, so how could you know as much as they know? So from my perspective, I support surgery when it's necessary, emergency medicine. Look, if you got a heart attack, or if you had, if you needed something that is critical care, we've got the best medicine in the world here. It's the chronic care that we miss out on. We all have to be honest about what causes disease, including our environment when it's polluted, our diet when it's misguided, our emotions, the levels of our stress. All these factors impact upon whether or not you're going to get sick and how sick and to what degree. When we talk about women's health issues, right at the top of the list has to come heart disease for a simple reason. It's the #1 killer of women. When you look at the 50 million Americans who suffer from post-stable hypertension, high blood pressure, a lot of those are women. We don't deal enough in our society with nutrition and heart disease, and certainly stress and heart disease. Now here's what's unique. We now know, and there's no question about this, that if you have a stressful thought, anxious thought, angry thought, you immediately overstimulate the production of stress hormones. Those stress hormones like epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, adrenaline, those are only meant to help you for a few seconds to flee, right? They're not meant to be with you all day long. The body cannot distinguish between you're being, under a bad day because you heard something you didn't like over the telephone, or you're just not feeling good about something, and suddenly you're killing yourself. Every negative thought you have, every stressful thought, cascading. Now, if you had no skin, and you could look into a transparent body, and you could see all these trillions of biochemical processes every second, and they were destructive, you could see the cells dying because of cortisol hitting. You could see your brain chemistry changing because of cortisol. When you start playing with the brain and the brain chemistry, you really get into some deep water, because when you start thinking stressful thoughts, normal brain chemistry shifts. And now you've got negative brain chemistry. Whereas if you thought positive thoughts, happy thoughts, constructive thoughts, empowering thoughts, motivating thoughts, then the brain chemistry elevates up, because the hormones you're secreting are all constructive hormones, not destructive. That's why when we say, you're killing yourself from stress, that's what we mean. You literally do kill yourself. And women are under enormous amount of stress, and chronic stress, day in and day out. So dealing with stress